Sounds good. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first quarter meeting, or our first of 5 meetings for 2024. This meeting is going to be virtual. In April, we will have our first in-person meeting on April 19th. Then we'll go back to a virtual meeting for July 19th. Then in September on the 20th, we will have an in-person, and then in November on the 15th, we'll have another virtual meeting.
September 13th.
September 13th. Thank you.
Yep, the venue had a conflict on the 20th and moved up to the 13th.
Got it.
I just got that updated on the website because somebody else had asked earlier and it was the 20th at that point too.
Got it. Okay, our presenters today is going to be Barb Hemme. She's going to be going over bank reconciliation. Kevin Barrow from Steffi Solution will be doing the BAQs and calculated fields. How to use a pivot table with a BAQ. Bill Golis will be doing the min-max safety and the process to calculate it in Epicor. I will be going over engineering change management. And then we will have our panel this afternoon for Stump the Chump session. After the meeting, we will definitely go ahead and send out the surveys and the request for presentation ideas. If you have a request, by all means, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll pull that out and we can put that into one of the suggestions for next week or the next meeting that we get together. If you want it to be a virtual presentation, please put that in the request so that we know not to hold it on site if you're not going to be in the on-site meeting. The classic UX right now is still continuing through 2024. We haven't heard anything different. So we should have another year of being able to use classic before we have to make the jump. Also, if you have any questions for the Stump the Chump session, please go ahead and put those in the chat window. I'll be monitoring the chat window during today's meeting, and I will go ahead and just put that into the presentation that we're doing this afternoon. I believe that's the 2:30, the 2:30 time slot. That's all I had for new business for the meeting. Barb, are you good to go? Are we a couple minutes early?
We're way early.
Awesome.
And I'm good to go, and as long as you're okay with it.
Some folks joined specifically for the thing, so let's get a little bit closer. Couple of questions folks have had. Yes, we are recording things, so those will get shared out on the YouTube channel, Coda Bears YouTube channel. I make a playlist for each of the user group meetings, and when I send the minutes out, there will be links to the videos for each of the presentations, so you don't have to watch the full 8 hours. You can jump to the session that you want and then skip around in that.
Forget that, Fred. You can play it at 2 times speed and turn all of us into chipmunks.
And like I said, we do try to keep to the posted schedule simply because some folks specifically join for specific sessions. So starting things a little early, although sometimes it works out like right now and we have to burn some time. It makes some other folks that are like, no, I'm showing up only at 9:20, I'm skipping new business. So they get a little upset and I try to accommodate everybody. Greg Wyant just submitted a question. We updated Kinetic recently, but they're still using Classic views. Did you say there is a date when Classic will no longer work?
Right now, it's through the rest of 2024. I have a feeling or a psychic inclination that it will be supported through the end of 2025. But going beyond that, can't do a guarantee on it. They still don't have everything converted over. They did find a way to have the Epicor Edge agent open up the Classic window if there is no usable Kinetic window for it. But not everybody can use the Edge agent or will allow the Edge agent on their network for security risks.
Okay, and I've got a person asking where the in-person meetings held. Karen, I will make sure that you are registered to get the invites for the meetings. And basically once you register, that's when we let people know the specific venue. The reason for that is we do need to submit a head count to the caterer.
Fred,
So
they're in Chicagoland area, Karen.
If that's close enough, yeah. But because of the head count, we don't advertise where they are prior to that meeting, so we don't have 50 people walking in and then all at once there's issues with dealing with lunches
Caterers.
and things like that.
It'll be here in the western suburbs of Chicago. We're about 30 miles west of downtown, about 10 miles from O'Hare Airport. So if you're flying in, we're not too far. It's a stone's throw from the airport.
Anybody else have any questions? And like we said, if you've got questions for Stump the Chump, Calvin, I think I sent you one over this morning that I got. Otherwise, I think you were included in all the ones that I've received to date.
Yep, already putting that presentation together.
If you've got questions for Stump the Chump, go ahead and put them into the questions area and we can add those in. And assuming that there's time in that session, we'll try and do our best to get everything answered. And from Paul, I thought I heard a rumor of Epicor implementing classic programs via the web. True, false? I think I've also heard that 2024 will eliminate the legacy menus. True or false? As far as implementing classic programs via the web, from my knowledge, I don't think they can do that because of security features within the browsers. You can't
that requires the edge agent.
Yeah, you can't just execute another program from your web browser. They kind of frown on that from the 90s forward when people were hacking using things doing that. So I don't see how they would do that. Doesn't mean it's not true.
What Epicor is doing is the Epicor print agent runs on the client workstation. There's still a full install of Epicor on the client. And if there is no kinetic interface, it will tell the edge agent to open the classic interface for that area.
As an addition to that, specifically menu items can be toggled to run in classic as well with a specific check mark.
Yep, but you'll still have to have that edge agent.
Just to be clear, everyone, when we're discussing classic, are we talking classic as well as modern / metro?
Modern Metro is classic.
There's a checkbox for the original classic, like from 9 as well. So that still runs in some versions.
And then the other question was, in 2024, will they eliminate the legacy menus? I haven't heard anything about them eliminating the legacy menus, but obviously they're driving people towards kinetic. So
Tim brought that up at last user group meeting last November, that yes, they are removing the legacy menus and it will only be the new kinetic menu in, but the classic forms will still be behind them, but he couldn't give us a date.
And we still got some time. So from Elise, we're in kinetic, but I've had issues with uplifts on upgrades because of the UI updates and menus. Do you think this will slow down as they finalize the UI of kinetic?
At least I don't see them slowing down the updates of kinetic. They're still learning how to do things in it, so they're going to keep improving it.
Kind of a development philosophy of trying to do small releases more frequently so that more fixes go out, as opposed to doing like back in the 90s and 2000s where you would just do huge updates, and then you have to do a whole bunch of little fixes anyways. So they're kind of following that philosophy as well. So I don't see them slowing that cadence down. Hopefully, as they test more, you'll find it's not going to cause as many problems between the patches.
Between the patches, Epicor will update the ERP and the UI. So if you were to put a customization on your order entry screen and they roll out an update to it, it may have a conflict with your App Studio version or your layer in App Studio, because they're going to put another one out and you need to make sure that yours rolled onto it and updates. And I don't believe, I would have to check with Hannah, if there is a method of exporting and importing App Studio layers properly yet.
Solutions.
I know that was but there was a discussion with that in the last presentation from Hannah, using solutions to deploy App Studio customizations from version to version.
Okay. For Karen, are there any hints about getting Edge Agent to work? I have it working on count them, one workstation, but the others I've tried are failing. I know that we've had some people try it here too, and they've been able to get it to work on a couple. It is a tricky little booger.
We have the Epicor Edge Agent running across our entire enterprise. There are some deployment issues. One of the major concerns at the moment is making sure that your primary directory for your application is the first path when you install the Edge Agent.
And for cloud users, if Karen, you're in the cloud, so is Kevin's company. So if you want to email him directly, Kevin, are you okay with fielding questions and helping? If you're on-prem, Karen, it's a different install of the Edge Agent.
Yeah, I would be okay with direct email, see if I could help somebody out. But my experience is deploying Epicor Edge Agent for the cloud service.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Just a comment from Josh, Kinetic user here. It's a little bit buggy. Stick with Classic as long as you can. Lisa, testing Kinetic now, using RDP with our remote users. Trouble with redirecting local printers within an RDP session for Kinetic. Any ideas on how to get printer redirection working on Windows Server 2022? And if you're using RDP, so if you're redirecting, go ahead.
I thought all you had to do was check little box to allow devices to be shared as well.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought as well, Lisa, is as long as you're allowing the local printer to pass through to the RDP session, then it should appear when you go to print. What I would suggest is eliminate whether it's Kinetic versus just the RDP. So bring up something like Notepad. I know that's a basic program, but honestly, Windows, if you go down to the very basic programs and they have problems, then you know it's something wrong with Windows or your Windows setup versus, okay, Lisa just said it doesn't work in any app. Okay, if it doesn't work in any app, then you've got a problem with how your RDP is working with your local printers. So make sure that when you go into RDP under options, there's and Calvin's showing you right now.
Local resources.
There's a local resources.
To allow access to your printers.
And
now,
Lisa
if it's an if it's an SSRS printer or a report from SSRS, you need to make sure that the printer on the workstation is also set up on the server so it can render the print and send it to the client. If the printer is not installed on the server, it won't be able to generate the report for that printer.
And Lisa, from Matt, he said printing through RDP is yuck. You need to install print drivers for the specific printer on the server as well as in the built-in, sorry, let me try that again. You need to install print drivers for the specific printer on the server, meaning the RDP server, as well if the built-in Microsoft driver isn't sufficient. So if you've got a specific printer on your local client, that driver needs to be on your RDP server as well so that it can actually do that printing. Also from Matt, he said they use an enterprise level product called ThinPrint that's been working for remote printing for him. There's the message for ThinPrint out to everybody. Okay, trying to catch up on Lisa here. Have over 100 printers, some only local throughout the company. Installing that many drivers is unmanageable. Yep, that's where you try, now you know why IT people try to standardize on things. And even if you have 100 printers, make them the same printer model all the way across.
Exactly. You only have to install the model. So if you only have 5 different models out of those 100 printers, it's only putting the driver on for those 5. If you have 100 different types of printers on your network, that's going to be a real pain to manage.
In which case, another option for you then would be print to PDF and then bring the PDF back to the local machine and print from the local machine. Because then if the person can print from the local machine anyways, the PDFs are universal. So there you're back into the regular world.